Hello, I'm Rodica Neamtu. I'm a professor of teaching in the computer science department, and I would like to talk a little bit about my work using artificial intelligence to change the world. Um, my classes are a student-centric environment where project-based learning and active learning are quintessential to transforming my students into lifelong learners. Databases and data mining are concepts that they get in class, but they then get to practice with in complex projects that they develop during our courses. As a natural extension of my classroom, I do believe in the fact that we are living in a new world where artificial intelligence needs a new way of thinking and needs people who understand both the moral, the social, and the economical implications of using AI. Thus, I have been leading the AI for All program here at WPI that helps students of all majors, including students in computer science, become more proficient, become more understanding of fairness and bias in artificial intelligence, as well as learn to examine the long and short term of implications of using AI. A lot of the learning that I do with my students happens outside the classroom in groups where we develop projects, research projects, implementation projects, both with undergraduate students and with master's and PhD students that attempt to make the world a better place. I work in a lot of different areas. My world is data-centric and data-driven. I'm just going to talk very briefly about 4 different areas where my students are engaged in really interesting projects. For example, data-driven material science is an area where we use computer vision and machine learning to create materials that help with climate change mitigation. We develop bio-inspired materials, sustainable materials, bacterial and virus-resistant materials, all trying to create the tools and the materials for people to move away from the traditional materials. In the last few years, it has become increasingly popular among my students to work in creating mobile healthcare applications driven towards accessibility and towards making the world a more inclusive place. To that extent, we work with organizations around Worcester, such as the Ecotarium, the Art Museum, Audio Journal, who are attempting to help visually impaired people in particular and blind people to have better experiences around the Worcester area. But I have worked in the past with international organizations creating alternative augmentative forms of communication for people who cannot speak or otherwise communicate with others. In light of the ever-increasing things that people have to do in their lives, my students have come up with the idea of creating a mindful-based stress reduction mobile application. This is an application that is intended and hopefully someday will be used by the students at WPI to perform little exercises that will help them better concentrate, defray some of the pressure that is associated with a lot of learning, with deadlines and things like that. And more importantly, to create a sense of well-being and to pass the message that we care about our students, not just as students, but as people in general. On another completely different note, some of my research happens in the area of brain-computer interaction. This is an area where my time series research expertise combined with my machine learning interest has allowed us to create with various groups of students over the year complex tools that allow us to identify cognitive states that later on could be applied to customize video games, to help improve the work of collocated teams of people and robots, to detect distracted driving, and many, many, many other things. This is work done in collaboration with the human-computer interaction here at WPI. And last but not least, I have recently started to work with our athlete students who found a need for having an application that will allow the alumni and players to connect and help each other beyond the invisible walls of the sports that they're playing, to support each other and help each other find new opportunities like internships, like new jobs, by connecting through an online application, which they so very aptly and brightly deemed Goat Connect. So I think I would like to end by talking about the fact that I think of my call in life as being equally a teacher and a mentor. So I take advising students as a very important aspect of my life, and I try to be a good mentor, a good teacher, but also a humble person that understands that someday any one of my students could become my colleague or somebody who would go on to achieve wonderful things. Well, I'm looking forward to hear from anybody who is interested in any of these areas or who wants to learn more about the database, data mining, and data-driven work that I do at WPI, and about any other ideas that could use my expertise and my guidance.